Austin Simmons is not shy about his 2025 expectations, and we give you a little bit of a Texas A&M game tonight. Primer.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast, hosted by me, Steven Willis, a 10-year veteran member with the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former Ole Miss staff member. On today's show, we're diving into Austin Simmons and his bold proclamation that Ole Miss plans to be right where Ohio State was at the end of that game. The 2025 season may still be months away, but there's plenty to be excited about. With the best schedule Ole Miss has had in years, the path of the college football playoff actually feels more realistic maybe than it did last year, although we were pretty high up last year as well. We'll break down what it will take to make the playoff dreams a reality for Ole Miss this year. Locked On Ole Miss is free and available on all the podcast apps and on YouTube. Thank you for making us the first listen every day, and a special hello to the shout out to the insiders and everydayers that make the show what it is. You're the ones that make it that way. Don't forget to check out Chris Gordy at Locked On SEC or Corey Burton at Locked On Vandy for fresh perspectives on the SEC, college football, and yes, even Ole Miss. Give them a listen as well. Now, it's really interesting stuff we're talking about. We're sitting here watching the last college football game of the year the other night, and all of a sudden on Instagram, Austin Simmons kind of chimes in because you could tell if you were following social media, he was feeling that game a little bit. He was getting excited because he is about to be the starting quarterback at Ole Miss. And he put out this thing at the end of the game. Austin Simmons says, "We will be here. Mark my words." I guess bookmark it. Do whatever you have to do. He expects to be where Ohio State is right now. And let's be real about this for a second. You want your starting quarterback thinking this. You don't want him to think it's like we're just going to try hard and do our best and can you give us a participation trophy? That's not what you want. You want somebody playing quarterback that has this type of mojo about him, this type of thought process about him, this type of want to win and want to get there about him. And Austin Simmons has that. He's been recruiting basically his tail off over the last couple of months, and Ole Miss has put together a skill unit that is probably greater than any time that Lane Kiffin has been the coach at Ole Miss. I mean, it's not top heavy. There's no Trey Harris, but the skill units on this team, it's pretty good. Starting at running back Logan Diggs, and you add a Shakai Mills-Knight who has a chance to be what we saw Quinshon Judkins be in the national championship game. And, Trey Hall and Jordan Simmons and those guys have a chance. And Dominic Thomas, who was a lot of the season the number 3 running back, he is going to be dropped down to number 5 or number 6. So the running back room is going to have plenty of depth. There's wide receivers all over the field. Tight ends, that room has been completely built out. This offense looks ready to click, and Austin Simmons is getting confident. He's starting to feel himself. They're starting their offseason program as we speak at Ole Miss. They're working out all the stuff that happens in the early season, fourth quarter drills, the whole 9 yards. Ole Miss is doing that. And Austin Simmons is fired up. He knew that he was walking in from that national championship game to the next morning, working out and being around his teammates as the starting quarterback, as this officially being his team. We want to talk about Inauguration Day on Monday. Well, January 21st was Inauguration Day too, and it was inaugurating Austin Simmons as the starting quarterback at Ole Miss. He is fired up. He is feeling himself, and he is setting the tone for the morning workouts by putting this out there. Now, the question is, can Ole Miss do this? Can Ole Miss stand where Ohio State is? And you would think that it would be difficult. You would think with the loss of Jackson Dart and Walter Nolan and Trey Harris and Princely Amon Mielen and Jared Ivey and J.J. Pegues, it would be a difficult row to hoe for Ole Miss to get into that top 12. Ole Miss just finished in the AP poll ranked number 11th. So if you're looking at it, it's like, well, even with Ole Miss kind of messing up a couple of times during the season. They were right on the cusp, and they probably were good enough to be into the playoff as it sits. But how do you replace those players? How do you replace those with the schedule that you have? What type of a realistic opportunity does Ole Miss have to make the college football playoff? And it is going to be difficult. It is going to be difficult because if you look at the schedule, one thing that stands out is October 18th with a road game at Georgia. Odds are Georgia is going to be favored in that game. Odds are Georgia is going to win that game. Sanford Stadium is a very tough place to play, which means in the rest of the schedule, can Ole Miss go 10-1? That's it. Can Ole Miss go 10-1? You can't have a Kentucky and a Florida. You can have one or the other. You cannot have both. And looking at this schedule, it is very favorable for Ole Miss to make the run that Austin Simmons was talking about. Home against Georgia State. Lane Kiffin doesn't lose non-conference games. He just doesn't. On the road at Kentucky, that's going to be a revenge game. It just is. It's going to be a hard-fought game. Mark Stoops is really good at coaching defense, but that is going to be a revenge game. Home against Arkansas. Okay. Home against Tulane. Tulane does not have their starting running back or their starting quarterback returning to this year. They're going to be a good team because John Summerall is a good coach, but that is not the Tulane team that won 10 games. LSU. LSU is going to be a difficult game. It's probably in the top 3 or 4 games on the schedule for Ole Miss next year. The ones that you think that Ole Miss could slip up, that would be one of them. Garrett Nussmeier is the betting favorite right now to win the Heisman Trophy. We'll talk about that in the second segment as well. Washington State. This is not the Washington State of last year to where they were just actually a pretty good football program. Their head coach went to Wake Forest. Their starting quarterback went to Oklahoma. This team is going to be in a transition. They hired the coach from South Dakota State, who is a good football coach. Do not hear me wrong, but it is a transition year as well. The at Georgia game I talked about. The at Oklahoma game, which is the other really difficult road game that Ole Miss has on their schedule. They have John Mateer at quarterback. This is going to be the ultimate hot seat game. But if you want to look at the other side, by October 25th, this Oklahoma's coaching search could be beginning. And Brent Venables could have been let go and all of that, and Oklahoma could be in a state of disarray. South Carolina at home, it's going to be a difficult game. Lenore Sellers is a good quarterback, but if you take his legs away take his legs away, it's not that scary. If you look at what Ole Miss did to him a year ago and what Illinois did, they just made it to where he couldn't run. The Citadel, that is going to be a glorified bye week, but hey, we'll take it. Florida at home, DJ Lagway, that's going to be a very tough game, and at Mississippi State. So the question becomes, can Ole Miss put together a run to where they go 10-1 in those games? If you beat Georgia, you can go 9-2 in those games. But as it sits, 10-1 of those games, because as we saw this season, 10 wins are a prerequisite to make the college football playoffs. That's just the way it worked out. And with this schedule, Ole Miss has 8 home games. Their 2 toughest road games includes a 6-6 team from a year ago. Georgia is going to be difficult, but Georgia would have been difficult if you hosted them or went to Sanford Stadium. So the home games, you have South Carolina, you have LSU, and you have Florida. The number 2, the number 3, the number 4 most difficult games on your schedule, you're going to get them at home. Get them kind of where you want them to be. And if Florida gets sideways, if they get sideways this year, which could happen, the fan base is already ready to turn on Billy. They have the same schedule that they had a year ago, just in reverse. That's worth paying attention to. LSU, like I said, they could be very good, they could be very bad, or they could be mid. So I just put them in 8-4 in that category right now. And if you look at the schedule, we're not ready to do W's and L's, but Austin Simmons get in the tournament and play on that Monday night, it's not extremely far-fetched. All of those games, Ole Miss should likely be favored in. Now, Ole Miss was favored against Kentucky, Ole Miss was favored against LSU, and Ole Miss was favored against Florida. So you can lose games that you're favored in, but Ole Miss should be favored in. And you know me, I rail on analytics. I've become increasingly anti-analytics. I am old man yelling at cloud, as Brandon Olson from Locked On Gator says about analytics. But if you learn to play as a favorite, if you play a smarter brand of football in 2025 than you did in 2024, you're probably going to see yourself in the field. I don't know if you're going to host. I don't know if you're going to travel. We saw this year it was better to go play that first weekend than to be a bye recipient, but it is what it is. So we'll see exactly how that goes for Ole Miss and Austin Simmons in the playoff, because I like that. I like that level of confidence from Austin Simmons and calling your shot and all of that. That is going to be pretty interesting to see. Off-season buzz is heating up, and the odds for 2025, they're already rolling in. Ole Miss quarterback Austin Simmons sits with the 13th best odds to win the Heisman Trophy next year in a year stacked with newcomer quarterbacks. This is from FanDuel. Could he make history? Stay tuned. This message is brought to you by Prize Picks, the place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions in winnings, Prize Picks has changed the game of daily fantasy sports. Whether it's the playoffs or the regular season, Prize Picks has made it easier than ever to win big while enjoying all of the football action. Now it's playoff time, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks. Here's how it works. You simply pick more or less on two or more players. And if your picks hit, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. That's right, 1,000 times your money just by making a few simple picks. For me, it's about the hot takes this season. Last week, I was all about Lamar Jackson throwing for more than 250 yards and Travis Kelce throwing from receiving for more than 70 yards. It's fun to predict and easy to play. Plus, with Prize Picks Flex Play, you can still double your money even if one of your picks does not hit. And with the app, you can get your winnings fast, sometimes in as little as 15 minutes. Ready to run your game this football season? Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, to get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 just for playing. Don't wait. Take your game to the next level with Prize Picks. Prize Picks, run your game. So, this is really interesting because, like I said, we did a show yesterday on a way too early top 25, and all of the odds and stuff are happening. Some very, very early lines are happening, none on Ole Miss at this point. But the Heisman Trophy odds were dropped as well yesterday. And that kind of was interesting to me, and what was going on with that. Because one thing that you noticed in these Heisman odds is there are a lot of newcomer quarterbacks next season in college football, and people just don't have a clue of what they're actually looking at in college football. There are going to be players that really ball out, and there are going to be players that struggle in their first year quarterbacking. But the way it sits right now is you just make the assumption that the Texas quarterback is going to figure it out. He has the last name like Manning. So if his name was Arch Davis, he would not be there, but he doesn't. So looking at the rankings as it goes, Austin Simmons is coming in at number 13, the 13th highest betting odds or best betting odds for the Heisman Trophy in 2025. That is 30-1, 13th overall, just behind DJ Lagway. Everybody knows how good DJ Lagway could be, but DJ Lagway is at 25-1. Austin Simmons is at 30-1, tied with Kevin Jennings, the quarterback at SMU. But if you're looking at it, the leader is Garrett Nussmeier at 9-1. He's the favorite to win the Heisman Trophy as it sits right now. Arch Manning is at 9.5-1. Arch Manning, like I said, if he was Arch Davis, there's no way he would be there. But his name is Arch Manning, so he is there. Cole Klubnik, 11-1. I kind of like that pick right now because of what's going on. Clemson's going to be a pretty good team next season, I do believe. Drew Allar is on this list. He is 11-1. That if you want to set some money on fire next year. Nico Iamaleava is at 11-1 as well. He struggled against Ohio State. The first non-quarterback is Jeremiah Smith. He's at 14-1. Lenore Sellers is at 18-1. Julian Sayin, who is going to be, I think, the quarterback for Ohio State next season, he is at 18-1. Carson Beck, who we saw in person and was not very impressed with, is at 20-1. Dante Moore is at 20-1. John Mateer is at 25-1, tied with DJ Lagway. And then you have Austin Simmons and Kevin Jennings at 30-1. Below that, you have Miller Moss, Gunnar Stockton, Ryan Williams, Marcel Reed, Jalen Daniels, Steve Angeli, Jackson Arnold, Caden Salter, Dylan Raiola, Thomas Castellanos, Sam Levitt, Fernando Mendoza, and Jeremiah Love getting up to 50-1 odds in the game. So you have a situation where Austin Simmons is in the top 13 best odds to win the Heisman Trophy. And you heard a lot of new names whenever I named that list. That's the reason I named that list, is when everybody makes their way too early picks and their Heisman picks and all that, a lot of times it's kind of off of brand and off of reputation. And you can take the Austin Simmons stuff as a very big compliment that is being paid to Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss, because after Matt Corral and after Jackson Dart, they just assume that Austin Simmons is going to be at that level. Now, if you look at what Austin Simmons did a year ago, I mentioned an interception yesterday. I got that wrong. I don't know why that, because if you look at the graphic, it's not on there. But last season, it was 19-32, 282 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's really good numbers. It's better than Eli Manning after redshirt freshman numbers. It's better than Romero Miller after redshirt freshman numbers. I think it was better than just about any redshirt freshman that I can remember. I don't exactly remember Matt Corral's numbers, but I think Austin Simmons, he kind of nailed what was going on. He's a good player, and he's got weapons. That is the one thing that we weren't quite sure about going into this transfer portal cycle. We knew that Lane Kiffin would get them. I mean, that's what he does. Desean Stribling, as a number one, built just like Trey Harris. He is a Trey Harris type of wide receiver. But when you look at it also, he played at Oklahoma State, who was completely quarterback challenged last season. Sorry about that. That was the New Mexico thing. But whenever you look at that, there it is. He had 52 catches, 882 yards, 6 touchdowns. And this was basically played with Alan Bowman at quarterback, and Oklahoma State struggled mightily at quarterback last season. This is a player that has a chance to break out in 2025. He is a guy that you could pop up and look and see. He's like 85 catches, 1,400 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Where did this come from? Who is this? This was already there. He's just playing at a place previously that was struggling at the quarterback position. And then Trey Wallace, who is an athletic freak, 46 catches, 720 yards, 4 touchdowns, the leading receiver from the wide receiver position at Penn State. They did have Tyler Warren, and he went off as well. But it's another one, that wide receiver that played for a quarterback challenged team. Drew Aller was able to use the shorter passes to Tyler Warren to kind of prop up his numbers. But any big game that Penn State played in, the wide receivers hardly ever got used. And a lot of that has to do with Drew Aller not being able to hit them. He wasn't accurate enough downfield to where it was problematic. He was a good quarterback against, Akron. But whenever you play a good team, like we saw whenever he lined up against Ole Miss, he just struggled mightily, and there wasn't a pass completed to a wide receiver until the fourth quarter of that game. So that's what's going on as well. And you look at the tight end position as well. Daquan Wright, I should say, 27 catches, 394 yards, 4 touchdowns, took a major star turn in the bowl game, and Ole Miss got other wide receivers and tight ends as well. Just a ton of them. I really think that Winston Watkins is going to play a lot next year. That's just my opinion, what's going on. But if the All-Star games are any indication to where Watkins was the starting punt returner in the Navy All-American Bowl and actually kind of went off a little bit in the Polynesian Bowl, Winston Watkins is going to play a little bit. Caleb Cunningham might not in his first year, because Caleb Cunningham is not getting to Ole Miss until the summer, which is going to put him behind the 8 ball. Now, he is such a supreme athletic beast that none of that may matter. I am well aware of that. But as it sits right now, it's something to at least think about. But Austin Simmons coming in at plus 3,000, that's 30-1, and on FanDuel for the Heisman Trophy in January, kind of gives you an idea what's going on. Ole Miss is on the ESPN bet and on FanDuel and all of that, getting odds to win the national title next year. I'm not saying they will or anything like that. They're saying that. It is why these way too early and everything with the quarterback situations going on at different places, it's at least interesting with such a range of picks going on. We'll see exactly how it goes, and it should be a lot of fun for Ole Miss next season. Coming up in our final segment, Ole Miss hits the hardwood for a late night showdown with Texas A&M. We've got everything you need to know about tonight's matchup. Do not miss it. You know, therapy is a game changer. It can help manage stress, improve sleep, communicate more effectively. But by finding the right therapist and fitting sessions into a busy schedule, that can be a challenge. That's where TalkSpace comes in. TalkSpace, the leading virtual therapy provider, makes getting the help you need easy, accessible, and affordable. With TalkSpace, signing up is simple. You can get matched with a licensed therapist that fits your needs, usually within 48 hours, and it is convenient. You can have sessions from the comfort of your home and even message your therapist in between appointments. Plus, TalkSpace is covered by many insurance plans. And for most insured members, there's zero copay. So it's never been easier to prioritize mental health. As a listener of the podcast, you'll get $80 off your first month with TalkSpace. When you go to TalkSpace.com/LockedOnCollege and enter promo code SPACE80. That's all one word, SPACE80. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to TalkSpace.com/LockedOn and enter promo code SPACE80 to get $80 off your first month and show your support for the show. That's TalkSpace.com/LockedOn, promo code SPACE80. All right, so Ole Miss has a big game against Texas A&M tonight. Ole Miss, after the week they had last week, they moved up to number 16 in the AP poll, number 13 in the net. It was a good week for Ole Miss basketball. Even though they lost to Mississippi State, they did beat Alabama, and you put those two together and it was able to work. But if you look at the numbers on there, Texas A&M is higher ranked than Ole Miss as it sits right now. And a lot of that has to do with the way they play, the wins that they have picked up, and they're going to be a tough out at home or the road because they do things that travel. Buzz Peterson at Texas A&M he has his team finely tuned to play really hard, and they are the number one offensive rebound team in the entire country. If you remember the Mississippi State game, Ole Miss gave up 51 rebounds and 19 of them being offensive rebounds. Texas A&M is going to crash the glass, and Ole Miss has their work cut out for them. Now, some of that is just bad luck with the ball bouncing out to different areas and weird brick shots that happen, but that isn't everything. There were a couple of things that Ole Miss had an opportunity to get that rebound, and they couldn't do it. So the keys in this game is pretty quite simple. Don't let Wade Taylor go off for 25-plus points tonight. Wade Taylor can score points in bunches. He is finally back healthy, and it's a situation to where they get a steal or rebound, whatever, hits a three. They get another steal, hits another three, and it's real similar to the Alabama game. Wade Taylor can shoot you out of it if you allow him to do that. So you need to make sure that you mark Wade Taylor in this game. Now, be competitive with Texas A&M on the boards. I'm not asking you to beat Texas A&M on the boards, but how about make it 38-32? If it's somewhere in that area, if Ole Miss is there, Ole Miss is going to win the basketball game. And it was Jamin Brakefield against Mississippi State, but who takes up the slack if Malik Dia gets taken away? And it's like I talked about last week. Teams are going to start going to the book on how you are going to stop Malik Dia and who is going to step up. Sean Padula tried against Mississippi State. Matthew Morrell hit the big shot to send it to overtime. Jamin Brakefield was kind of the leader in the clubhouse of that. My final score prediction in this game is Ole Miss 68, Texas A&M 58. I think this is going to be a lower scoring basketball game, and Ole Miss has a chance to extend themselves and get yet another quad one win before they get on the road at Columbia, Missouri. Now, if you look at Texas A&M's roster with the players that they have, Zurich Phelps, he's averaging 15.5 points a game, shooting 30% from three. Wade Taylor is at 33%. He's averaging 15 points a game. Those are the two major scorers on this basketball team. You're going to have to handle the guards of Texas A&M. They both rebound pretty well. Zurich Phelps averages 5 rebounds per game. Wade Taylor even averages 3.5. They average 41.4 rebounds per game as a team and 76 points per game. So holding them that below their season average is going to be a chore. So it's going to be a real chore. So this is the first game that the students are back in Oxford, that they will be there. It should be a true sellout, be extremely loud, the noise be absolutely crazy. And from this point on is where you see what the Ole Miss basketball team is going to look like in the arena and everything. What does a game at the Pavilion look like? And I think it's going to be pretty hectic for anybody that's involved. So we'll see exactly how it goes. 12.5 assists a game. Wade Taylor is the leading assist man at nearly 5 per game. And when you shoot the ball as well as he does, when you score as well as he does, yeah, it should be fairly easy to get assists because people are going to really run out to you. Now, free throws, this is an advantage that Ole Miss could have in this game, especially with how physical Ole Miss plays. Now, the leader is Wade Taylor. He's nearly a 90% free throw shooter. He's somebody that's almost guaranteed. But Zurich Phelps, he's only 66%. Farrell Payne, 55%. He averages about 9 points per game. Henry Coleman, 68%. You can see that the number is about a little over 1 out of 2 in the free throw category for Ole Miss. And a team that plays as physically as Ole Miss likes to play, this game has a chance to be a little bit of a rock fight. That's the reason I picked the score to be so low. With Ole Miss playing defense and them playing defense and them rebounding, if you can keep them off the glass to where you just don't get mauled on the glass, you should be all right. And you're going to walk away with a win against a higher ranked opponent. Another quad 1 victory of a team that is likely going to be quad 1 at the end of the day. Getting ready for a game at Missouri, that's another quad 1 type opportunity against a ranked team. Ole Miss basketball is in a very good spot, but this is a sneaky important game. It's going to be important this week for Ole Miss to at least go 1-1. I think 1-1 should be the goal throughout the rest of the year for the fan base, not for the team. The fan base is just looking to get to 10 and beyond. We'll see exactly how that goes for Ole Miss tomorrow night. We will be doing an instant overreaction immediately after the game, like we always do. That's going to replace the live show tonight. Today is only a 1-show day. Tomorrow is a 3-show day. We will have this show. We will have Brian Smith, and we'll have the instant overreaction on Wednesday. So we'll see exactly how that goes as well. Jake Crane from Crane & Company is going to be on the show next week as well. So we'll see how it goes. Thank you for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves on offering the most comprehensive perspectives, which is why we're the number 1 Ole Miss podcast out there. Thank you. Your support means the world to us, and thank you for making us the Ole Miss Morning Show. Thank you also for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen. For your second listen, check out Locked On SEC podcast. Host Chris Gordy holds no punches, covering the best conference in college football and sports. Find Locked On SEC on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hotty toddy, everyone. And remember, analytics is just the old English word meaning bad football. We'll see you tomorrow.